Well, in their promotion of a video, the SEC network has said that Kirby Smart has built a dynasty in Athens. Here's the tweet. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that real well. Maybe right there. I want to talk about this for a little bit because two national championships say it's not a dynasty. That's two national championships. What Nick Saban has done at Alabama, that's a dynasty. I would say, you know, my cutoff for all of this is three. If you got three, you can make the argument for sure. Well, not make the argument. You got one. You got a dynasty at that point. If you got two, was LSU a dynasty from 2003 to 2007? Were the Gators a dynasty from 06 to 08 or 9? They didn't win it in 09, but how about Clemson? How about Clemson in 2016 and 18? What about Ohio State? Was that a dynasty from 2001 to 2014? Did Florida State have a dynasty? I think Florida State might have when you look at what they did over a long period of time. But in college football anymore, I would say there's really, Florida. What about Central Florida in 2017? How about that? Was that funny? Was that not funny? Okay. Yeah, certainly Nebraska from in the middle 90s. I remember being in college, obviously. We watched a lot of football. We would hook up multiple televisions before your cable signal would get too denigrated. And we would watch every possible game we could watch at once. Certainly the night games were awesome. But, two national titles in a small period of time is not a dynasty to me. And I don't know who judges these things, but I would say I am at least a voice in this. I've been around for a while. I've been a Heisman voter since 2005. Covered the Dogs since Mark Richt's first season. And Alabama has had a dynasty. And the other thing is, I don't know if you can have a dynasty while someone else is having theirs. So that's a good question. I understand what the SEC network is doing. They're I'm not fighting the promotional staff, the SEC network. They do a really good job, generally speaking. But, Alabama has had two different dynasty phases. They've had the Bear era, and there might have been a couple during Bear, 64 and 65, which was just two. But really it was, all of it. From 64 to 79, Alabama won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 national championships in 15 years. That's not as well as Nick has done, but that's a dynasty to me. Has Oklahoma ever had a dynasty? I would say they've not. Has LSU? I would say LSU has not. And when you were winning it with different coaches, the answer is no. So the only real argument to be made here lately have been USC, who won, 2 or 1.5, however you want to put it. It's so challenging because the 03 title was LSU and Southern Cal. The Gators, 2 in a 3-year period. Alabama, which clearly is a dynasty. And then Clemson, 2 in 3 years, just like the Gators. And then Georgia, 2 in a row. I think Georgia's gonna have another one. Needs to have another one, and I actually think they will. But I think to call this a dynasty, I don't know. Is this a dynasty? You can pick these up down below. The Double Dogs is still available for you if you want the 2023 preview. And pick all of these. You get them both for in the same packaging. So if you pick up Double Dogs today, you're going to get the 2023 preview. We're not going to do this promotion forever. So if you want that, pick it up now. Our friends at Red Zone are helping us out with this. I think what happens after the fact matters too. To be honest, if you're still there, I mean, if Michael Jordan were still playing for the Bulls, however many years later, and didn't win the title, we wouldn't probably look at that the same way. But we only look at Michael Jordan from his period. People don't even remember the beginning of Michael Jordan. So there's that, and the struggle with the Pistons and Celtics and everybody in the Eastern Conference. So, they won 6 in 8 years. They never lost one when he played the full season in that 8-year period, if my math is right. So, I think for Georgia, they need to add one more championship. You could say, oh, well, this was just about Stetson Bennett, although in the comments section, we know that would have never been the case a year ago. You could say, well, you can't say this is about, you could say it's about Stetson Bennett and Todd Monken. It was not about Kirby Smart, which nobody would believe. I certainly wouldn't make that argument. You could say this is about, Alabama's failures. I think that would be super harsh. Like, I don't think that's based in reality at all. You could say, my take. No one uses the term dynasty for anything else until you got 3. Like the Golden State Warriors, they've got a dynasty. They do. It's fading, perhaps, but they do have a dynasty. Did the Pistons? I don't think they had a dynasty. I think they were the team that was superb between the the transition from Magic to Michael. I think that I've watched a lot of NBA through the years, obviously, but in the '90s when Houston won it back to back, I think it was. Why was that? Was that a dynasty? I would say it was not. One of the things I clearly remember as a child, I don't think I was in college yet though, was watching the Knicks and that Knicks Warriors closing of that series was crazy and awesome. The other thing too for Georgia is this sport is about to change, and although only let me go off the top of my head now. Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Florida, USC. Is that it? I think only 7 programs have won national championships, more than one national championship in the 2000s. So Miami and Oklahoma, they only won one. Texas only won one. We already said the LSU and the Gators. So USC, Ohio State, USC, LSU, Florida, Bama, Clemson, Georgia. That's it. So those 7. And when you look at those 7, obviously SC has regressed and perhaps they're coming back. Texas, just of the ones nationals. LSU has regressed. They seem like they're coming back. Ohio State, I think, I'm not sure that they regressed this 20-year period or 22-year period. Maybe in 2010. LSU certainly went backwards. Clemson's regressed for sure. Alabama's regressed. How much? I don't know. We'll see. Don't doubt the tide. Get our Kirk Herbstreit and Reese Davis on. You can't say anything bad. This is where I have sympathy for those guys. You can't say anything bad about any of these teams ever, or people will just what Reese Davis said about Georgia is right. That's the funny part. It's like everybody's going hard at Reese Davis, and then of course they overreact, a little bit too. But Clemson was the king of this for a long time. Of nobody, this God, just be quiet, Of course, it was the coaches and the players that were doing that at Clemson. At Georgia, it's the fans. No, that's not true, because Nolan Smith was telling everybody, people were telling them that they were going to be 7-5, which is not based in reality at all. I don't know why we do this. It's so stupid. And when I say we, I mean people other than me. But I don't think we're at dynasty level for Georgia yet. I do not think that. I do think that a dynasty should happen. I do think a dynasty should happen under Kirby Smart at Georgia. Now, again, the sport's going to change though. See, you're about to go into a 12-team playoff. You're about to have, divisionless SEC. You're about to have an SEC with Texas and Oklahoma in it. Losses will be more permissible. Will we ever see a 16-0 team? Doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like we only got 3 15-0s in the entire time. So you're going to lose games. You better lose the right game, or right games. But, there's been moments in time. I mean, certainly in the 80s is Miami. No question. That's just what it was. I mean, you look at Miami and, was Penn State a dynasty in the 80s? No. 82 and 86, I mean, that's a long time to go between national championships and really make the case that this whole next class, every single person came to Penn State under Joe Pa, left, and then a new crowd won the national championship. That's not a dynasty. But, you look at Miami with 83, 87, 89, 91. Yeah, that's a dynasty. 2001 Miami dynasty? No. And then you go to 94, 95, 97, Nebraska, for sure. Tennessee only won one national championship in the last 50 years. Ohio State has never won 2 national titles in modern history within 10 years of one another. USC, I think, is the closest one to where we're at with Georgia right now, which is, SC won back-to-back. But the problem was that they, sort of shared it with LSU, who completely won the national championship in 2003. Those 2 teams should have played one another. The interesting thing, I'm just now seeing this right now, is that the NCAA itself is not recognizing Central Florida for 2017, and they should not. They should not. I mean, that's completely ridiculous and insane to act like those teams had anything to do with the national championship. I also see here they are not noting Georgia's national championships, plural, in the 40s. They're only going with the AP, which is, look, whatever. It doesn't, matter. But I do think that Georgia's not where they're supposed to be yet to call themselves a dynasty. No, they're not. And I think that's fair. One more, though? Well, like one more in the next 3 or 4 years, even 5 years, I will allow it.